Submitting the right documents in a timely fashion is one of the most important parts of any immigration application. When it comes to spousal sponsorship, many applications get returned because the documents were not submitted properly. That usually causes delays, if not changing the outcome of the application altogether. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to minimize that risk. Hi, my name is Maddie from Immigrant Consulting, and here are some tips for submitting a successful spousal sponsorship application, including common law and conjugal relationships. Tip number 1, start by reading the basic guide provided by Canada Immigration on their website before you take any action. I'm going to put the link for that guide in the description below. This is a perfect step-by-step instruction that will let you know whether or not you're eligible to sponsor, who you can sponsor, and how you can sponsor. It has some important information that you absolutely need to know before you act as a sponsor. Often applicants fail to fill out the forms correctly and properly, mainly because they don't understand the questions. This guide has also some instructions on how to fill out the forms, so that's good. Tip number 2. Begin with the end in mind. Get the application checklist and find out what additional documents you need to include in your package. Get those documents as early as you can. Some documents are easier to get. Photos, for example. You take your photo instructions provided by Canada Immigration to a local professional photographer, and your photos are going to be ready within a few hours. But if you need a police certificate, for instance, that may take longer to get. Some people have lived in different parts of the world, and depending on the country and the circumstances, it may take a very long time to get police certificate from there. And remember, all original documents, if not already in French or English, must be translated by a certified translator. Tip number 3, get the country-specific checklist. I think the Canadian Immigration has done a fantastic job creating forms and guidance related to additional documents needed for any specific country. Find out what additional documents you need to provide based on your spouse's country of citizenship. Do not rely only on the generic checklist. Tip number 4. To sponsor your spouse only, you need to pay a $75 processing fee plus a $475 processing fee. The application will not be processed without proof of these two payments, but there's also a $490 right of permanent residence fee, but you have the option to pay it now or later. However, it is highly recommended that you include that fee in your application. This prevents any delays in the processing after the application has been approved. Tip number 5. This is an important update. There are 2 types of spousal sponsorship applications. One is when your spouse isn't here in Canada and you try to sponsor them. This is called an inland sponsorship. There's also another sponsorship when your spouse is living outside of Canada. This is usually referred to as an overseas application. In the past, for either one, you would have to send your application to Case Processing Center in Mississauga, Ontario. With the recent update, the Mississauga office only takes in inland applications. Overseas applications now have to be sent to Sydney, Nova Scotia. This is particularly important if you downloaded your checklist a few months ago and it took you some time to prepare your application. If you go by the outdated checklist, it says send your application, your overseas application, to Mississauga, Ontario. But if you download that checklist again, the updated version will say to send your overseas application to Case Processing Center in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Also, there's an update for fees, and depending on your spouse country of origin, you might have to pay an additional $85 for biometrics fee. So these tips are definitely going to help you work on your application more efficiently. Obviously, I could not cover everything in this short video, but I tried to give you some tools to better understand the process. Keep in mind that immigration process in general is very time consuming and can be stressful at times. If you don't have the time to do it all yourself, you have an option to hire a representative. You don't have to do it, but if you feel overwhelmed, I highly recommend working with an experienced representative. Now, I want to know your thoughts on sponsorship process. What are your biggest challenges? How long did it take you to prepare your package? What other immigration questions do you have? Please keep in touch. Leave comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.